Hey guys, it is November 16th, 2017, and this is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. I'm gonna, because I got pretty smashed last night and not drunk, I don't mean drunk, I got, heavily hit, last night in the head and the neck and the legs. I'm being mutilated by these directed energy weapon systems and the people, the contractors on shifts. I'm gonna kind of just do an update tonight. I really want to go, online and go through some articles and information on Project Artichoke, and Project Phoenix, that happened. Project Phoenix was in Vietnam, just to keep keep building a case for non-TIs and people in the public who are like, how could this happen? How could this ever happen? That people would do this, that experimentation like this could exist, or brutalization of human beings could exist like this. And I'm gonna, ooh, that green light's kind of cool. But for right now, because I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts together, I just want to do an update today. So it may be some kind of, some random information. And I'm having a hard time thinking now that I'm making this video. Because, like, I was listening to Dave CD when I went to sleep, but I did not sleep in my bunker. And, it was, my body felt mutilated and cooked from the inside, when I woke up. Basically the whole time that I slept. I don't really sleep. It's kind of like torture, directed dreaming, mind rape, while you sleep. And target individuals will understand this. I think the CD attenuates it. For some people, it makes it stop. I mean, it really does, pull back their targeting so much that they can't even notice it. For me, it does attenuate it enough so that it's bearable, so that I can get through the day. And sometimes, even with it, my body is just so tired from the years and years of experimentation, mutilation, and torture to my body, but it helps me to get through. I think it's my number one defense. But I wanted to say, like, I woke up and, basically, I can visualize things, but that seems like through my life. I had a photographic memory when I was little, and as I got into the teenage years in college, it wasn't really photographic anymore, but still, I have a beautiful imagination, and I can visualize things very, very well. Like, after I see a movie, I can basically run the whole movie through my head exactly how it looked on the screen. I can remember things in full Technicolor, and that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about my thinking, that I really never, knew how special that was. I was just like, oh, well, this is just a part of me, and it will always be a part of me. But when you're facing this, mind rape, and I'll get to that term because I want to talk about that in a second. You realize how special it was and how important it was for you. My attackers, I think pretty early on, or when they started doing the remote neural manipulation, they knew that was important for me, my visualization of things. And so now it's gotten to a point, the entrainment, the high-pitched tinnitus-like sound, the concussive-like feeling and crushing inside of my head, where it feels like my brain is actually cooking. It's sometimes hard to differentiate. Is it because I've been tortured for so many years that my thinking is dulled down, or is it the remote neural manipulation? And I think it's a combination of both. Because when I woke up, it's like it's almost like they send a signal to my brain, to that part of my brain that is my visual space, and they basically just suffocate it to where I can barely visualize anything. And why they do this is because it's a form of mind rape. They want to go ahead and clear neural pathways and things that you usually use to think a lot. They want to go ahead and rape and try and kill those things. I call it more of, stifling those areas of thought so that they can kind of, inject and rape in, visual signals that they want to. So, listen carefully, non-TIs, because this stuff is brutal, brutal trauma, mutilation of the human body, but it's also the worst thing in human history because it is the brutal trauma and mutilation and rape of the mind, which is like basically our last vestige of solitude. It's our last thing that we can go to after a hard day. This program in directed energy weapon systems and electronic surveillance have really come across two. Pepper, can you just stop? Can you stop, boo-boo? They've really crossed two of the last vestiges of safety for human beings. So, like, after a hard day, you can go home into your house and be safe and know that you're alone and, you can rest. And then, especially your mind, you can find solitude in your mind and safety in your mind. So, even if you were, like the Christians that were rounded up, in the Soviet Union, in the torture camps, they may have gotten like beat really badly, but they could go back to their cell and at least be inside their own mind and have solitude there, which I'm not saying that's, I'm not saying that's a great thing because they were really, really tortured. But for target individuals, for people who are victims and survivors of this non-consensual human experimentation, it's like every thought is being picked up. They're basically sending and receiving signals. So it's like every visual you make, and it's not like your whole brain. It's not like everything. They can't just grab anything, anywhere, anytime that they want. But they do. They map the brain, and when you are creating a visual in your visual space, they are getting that on their monitors or their remote platform. So they've taken that ultimate last vestige of solitude and safety. Our homes were that, but our homes are no longer that for anyone. Our homes are being surveilled. Smart meters are being used to surveil probably almost every home in any NATO country or the Five Eye countries. And I guess that brings me to a point. So it's hard to kind of collect my thoughts. With also, I want to give a shout out to Chris Burton because he was on Ella Free did an interview with him last night. I couldn't get on TalkShoe, which is the conference call place. Like a lot of people couldn't get on TalkShoe, so I missed it. I'm going to have to go listen to it again. But I had seen interviews with him and Romola D, and he really talks about his voice to skull in detail. And it's a little bit different from mine. Probably the voice to skull that he has at the current time is kind of like mine. But I mean, imagine this. Like at first, when I started experiencing voice to skull, probably about 6 years ago, in a Walgreens, where I heard my neighbors upstairs in a Walgreens, and I knew that I was being hit with something remotely. Some kind of voices bounced to my skull. It wasn't. It was more of an annoyance. It didn't start to get violent yet in my mind. But now, after 6 or 7 years of straight voice to skull, it never stops. There's always a conversation. It's chatterbox technology. You can look up a lot of Robert Duncan's interviews, and he actually worked on chatterbox technology, which is basically they'll take things they said in real time, like these shift workers. They'll take things they said in real time and shot to your skull. Either through the microwave auditory effect or bone conduction or, ultrasound to the ears. They'll take those things they said in real time, they put them into a software program. The software program basically either works with like your breathing or some kind of biological response that you have, and so you hear every couple of seconds, you'll hear a phrase. And they're like talking to each other, and it makes it sound like it is a conversation rolling, but it's on repeat. It's things said over and over again all the time. So imagine somebody basically shooting voices at your head with a gun. After many years of it, it is actually physically painful. Like the psychological pain of it, because it never stops, is so great that I actually feel physical distress from the Chatterbox technology, the V2K, 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes I can attenuate it. Now, when I don't have Dave CD on, it is lessened because they're using some kind of voice. And when I have Dave CD on, there's loud sounds from the headphones going to my ear, and they use that. They use a sound induction, so they're basically using that sound and making the V2K louder. But overall, Dave CD does attenuate the V2K when I'm not listening to it. So it kind of cuts them off, and it cuts off what they're doing enough so that it overall does attenuate it. But basically, so when I have the CD on, they try and use that as a time where they will use voice induction to use that sound to ride on, and then it's like blah 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 blah. I'll give you a few, like the girl is like, help him, I'm praying for him. We need to stop this. It is evil. And then the guy's like, no, we have to do this. We have to do this. Who cares? Nobody's listening to him. And then every once in a while, there will be an injection, like a voice injection, not synthetic telepathy, not your own inner voice, but V2K audibly, as if I'm hearing it. And the guy is like, oh, you think you're so smart. And then he'll say, nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares about you. And then he'll say, like, I mean, just ludicrous things. But basically, it's like a back and forth between a man and a woman. And now, it used to be a few more people, like 4 people, it would sound like. Now it's really just 2 people. So it's changed. It's changed a lot, and it's gone away for a couple of months at the beginning. But now it's basically just da-da-da-da-da, 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 all the time, even if it's in the background. Like, even while I'm making this video, and even when I was doing the video last night, the whole time it's like, turn it off. Like, the woman will say, turn it off, and the guy will say, no, we have to do this. Nobody cares. Like, so basically I'm kind of just, going over random stuff, but it's gotten to a point where the V2K doesn't stop. It's 24-hour a day Chatterbox software technology. So it's very automated. They use things that they have said in real time. They put it into this program, and they keep playing it. They keep playing it. It's on a roll. It's on like an automated roll. So, for the first couple of years, actually probably till the last year, it was annoying. It was annoying. I was more physically hurt by, the actual trauma, the actual external directed energy weapon hits to my groin, to my chest, to my head, to my neck, to the sides of my jaws. And the V2K was an annoyance. And my mind is pretty strong, so it's taken a while. But the past year, the V2K has actually been so psychologically harmful that it causes like physical pain where I feel like I need to jump out of my skin, because it just never stops. It just tires out my head. I can't ever have a time where it's just silence. There's never a time. It's always conversation. One phrase after the other. One phrase after the other, Chatterbox. So, I mean, it agitates me, but sometimes it's worse. Like when you're trying to sleep or you're just waking up, it's actually psychological. I don't know how to explain this, because I think we're dealing with whole new categories of trauma with directed energy weapon systems. I really think we're dealing with they're going to have to come up with whole new categories of trauma, because these traumatic things that they're doing are for decades, for years and years and years without stopping. They are raising the bar on torture on innocent citizens around the world. So it's hard to explain, but something that was psychologically annoying that interfered and was static in my life. Now, because it doesn't stop and my body